Hello everyone, welcome back to The Departure. Or should I just say welcome? This video will be your introduction to who I am in regard to my own mental health background, as well as who I am as a person in real life. Find yourself a comfortable seat, and grab a beverage of your choice because I anticipate that this will be a long one. As I've mentioned before, I live in one of the southern United States. I wasn't born in the South, but my family moved down here when I was young, and I've been living here long enough to consider it my home. At the time of recording, I'm 27 years old, and I just recently graduated with my master's degree. I have a job I enjoy, and I'm currently saving up so I can move to the city where I work, because right now I live about 80 miles away, and let me tell you, that's a long commute. Education has always been important to me. It was something I was good at as a kid, and I viewed school as shelter from my often chaotic home life. When I started college, however, I began finding classes more difficult, and some of the symptoms of my mental illnesses began to manifest a little more clearly than they had when I was in high school. Right now, I'm currently diagnosed with major depressive disorder with anxious distress, gender dysphoria, a non-specific eating disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Right now, my mental health care team is also working on a ADHD diagnosis possibly, but I've been medicated for the ADHD for about a year now. In the past, I was also given a diagnosis of bipolar type 2. Though as sort of an inside baseball moment, my official diagnosis switches between bipolar 2 and MDD depending on the medication that my psychiatrist wants to prescribe. My insurance can be kind of picky with what it does and doesn't want to cover, and so a diagnosis will often be the determining factor. On the physical side of things, I'm a diabetic, and I've had chronic lower back pain for almost 10 years now, so that definitely plays a huge role in how I feel on a day-to-day basis. I've been in some form of behavioral therapy steadily since about 2016. I'll be the first person to tell you that my unaddressed mental illness was damaging my academic work and my personal relationships. I burnt through a fair few jobs and grad school programs while I was working on adjusting to my diagnosis in the medicine. How do I feel about my mental health, though? That's a tough question to answer. I often hear the saying, "You're more than your mental illness." But sometimes I feel like my depression has touched every facet of my life, every aspect of who I am as a person, that while I can say rationally, yes, I am more than these symptoms that I express, sometimes it feels like the mental illness is just as core a part of who I am as my childhood memory. Speaking of childhood memories, my first love has always been stories. I loved being read to as a child until I learned to read, and then I read everything I could get my hands on. Any kind of story, whether it was about kids or adults, whatever they were doing. To that end, my thesis project was about creating stories, and creating difficult stories in particular. I know what you might be asking, which is, what makes a story difficult? Well, to answer it in kind of a short way, there are a lot of different things that can make a story difficult, but the most common one would be subject matter. So when we talk about stories that deal with death or addiction or illness, things that you wouldn't be comfortable bringing up in just casual conversation, that is what the book that I read as part of my thesis program deemed a difficult story. And a lot of what that book dealt with was being ready to tell the story, giving yourself permission to tell the story, both as the storyteller and giving yourself permission to share this story with the audience. It was thinking about these stories that gave me the idea of The Departure. Growing up, mental health wasn't something my family talked about. Any problem I had was dismissed as laziness, or a problem inherent to, quote-unquote, my generation. Until I spoke with a college counselor, I genuinely believed that I was simply ill-equipped to face the real world, the world outside of school, which my family insisted would eat me alive. Which brings us to the central question. Why did I start this channel? Because my project dealt with mental health, trauma, and the problem of ignoring issues, I wound up thinking about my own upbringing. I thought about how lonely and sad I was, and how isolating it felt to have my struggles dismissed, both by my family and by the people that were in charge of teaching me. I didn't have access to the internet until I was almost out of the house. It's a powerful tool that, if used correctly, can bring people together and shed light on issues that might otherwise be ignored. This channel is for any person who struggles like I do. It's for family and friends who want to help. It's for the curious. I want to be clear that I'm not at all capable of diagnosing or treating any kind of illness, physical or mental. All I can do, personally, is share my own stories. But that doesn't mean that this is a waste of time. Like I said, the internet is a powerful tool. All it takes to make a change is someone who can talk about an issue in a way that makes people listen. But what do I want to change? To put it simply, I want to change the way that mental health is talked about. I want to roll the log over and watch all the bugs crawl out. And I want to know that even though parts of it look ugly and scary, struggling is nothing to be ashamed of. It's a lofty goal for one man, to be sure, but if I can make just one person feel less embarrassed about needing help, or if I can help someone who is wondering if they have a mental illness, then I will consider this a resounding success. So how will I accomplish this? To be honest, I think that's an answer that will change as both I and the channel grow. For now, I want to break the puzzle of my mental health down into individual pieces, and use each piece as a lens to view life. We can look at ideas like shame, fear, politics, school, love, and we can look at these through the lens of mental illness, which is, how does my depression affect my relationship with my girlfriend? How does my anxiety make me overperform in school? Is there any such thing as a quote-unquote good mental illness? You can expect to see videos with titles like anxiety and doctor visits, or depression in video games. Basically, topics that I'm interested in at the time. Mental health is a wide topic, and there's no shortage of things to talk about. That being said, there's one more thing I'd like to include. Talking to you. Every video will have a question for you at the end, and moving forward, I want to feature some of the answers and respond to them myself. So with that being said, dearly departed, your first question is this: what's your experience with mental health? Answer in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you. That brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked what I had to say, hit that like button. If you want more of my content and haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so. As a bit of housekeeping at the end, the next video out will be one of my side projects where I will be reading a short story from the public domain, and that short story will be The Yellow Wallpaper. It is a classic, and it has some wonderful imagery in it, so I really look forward to sharing it with you guys. And then one final thing, I have a Twitter. It's at TheDeparture3. You can follow me there for updates on when videos go live, and hopefully future interaction with other members of the community. So with all that said, I hope y'all have a lovely day, and I do look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Cheers.